What's up YouTube, John here. Thank you for joining Blue Carbon Reefing. Just wanted to give you an update on a couple things with the frag tank. As you can see, I'm having a pretty bad algae problem. For some reason, all of a sudden, I got what I would assume I normally have low nitrates is skyrocketed up to like 40 to 50 parts per million. So I have no idea what's going on, and definitely has some algae taken off here. So have not been feeding the tank. I actually have only been dosing some fuel and some amino acids and stuff like that. So not sure where all the nitrates came from, but I will find the source of the problem and get a hold of it. So the one thing I really wanted to update you guys on was my addition to the tank as far as switching things over from electric heating to using my hot water heater. So I will share a link with you from the forum in reef2reef.com. There I will show you basically the parts that are needed and everything. There's a link there. The gentleman DBR, he has done an excellent job of a video and showing everything there. So I'm going to kind of show you my version of this and what I've done. My house is new and I do not have any copper piping, so even easier for me to set everything up, because PEX, in my opinion, is easier to work with than trying to solder copper. So a little background on my system. I actually have now about 1,250 gallons. It is a 400-gallon main display that is upstairs, and it drains into a sump downstairs and goes through a couple different directions, a few different tanks. So essentially I have a frag tank, which is what we're looking at right now, and I have just a 300-gallon plastic container just for extra water volume, and that drains into, I have a 150-gallon refugium that I just set up that I'm trying to grow some macroalgae and have that take off so this hair algae problem kind of goes away. I've really been focusing on that. So main thing I wanted to do is today's video though is I wanted to kind of give you an idea or an overview of what I have done with the hot water heater. So give you some background, the whole system being about 1,250 gallons. My electric bill through the winter, I live in Michigan, has been very cold. My electric bill has been between $400 to $500 a month. I kind of calculated it out. I have about 1,800 watts of heaters that are constantly running 24/7. So on marinedepot.com there is a link. There's some calculators for electricity usage to try to calculate your electric bill, and just the heaters alone, from what I'm calculating, is probably between $100 to $150 a month, since they're constantly running. They're like trying to keep the tank at a certain degree. I normally keep the tank around 77 degrees, and it's having a hard time keeping up with that. So I bought some more heaters, and I thought to myself, I got to figure out another way to heat this tank, because there's a lot of water being heated and it cools down very quickly, and these heaters are just constantly competing and staying on all day long and wasting a lot of energy. So I found this article on Reef to Reef and the video, and kind of did everything as far as essentially the background on it is you want to use a titanium heat exchanger that is the same type of thing that I would assume that saltwater pools are heated with. So what I'm going to do is kind of show you my system and kind of how I did this. And if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up through email or leave a comment, and we can kind of message back and forth. I'll be happy to try to help in any way that I can. Okay, welcome back. So essentially there's a couple different ways you can set this up, but I will kind of show you. This is the titanium heat exchanger, and what you're basically going to be doing is running your hot water line from a pump that I have turning on by my Apex, and that will come on and run hot water through the titanium heat exchanger and basically come in this direction and then back down to my cold return line for my hot water heater. So I have two hot water heaters which are just kind of teed together. That's how the builder set it up. So I just kind of teed off of there to have the hot water come down and through. So in my system it's kind of perfect. I don't have a whole lot of plumbing that was necessary. I didn't have to do 20 20 feet, 30 feet of plumbing. It's just a couple feet and a couple elbows and kind of coming through. And then the difference of how I did it, I actually set up to a return line. So because I have a basement sump, I have 2 external overflows and then 3 pipes for each overflow coming from the main tank and coming through. So I actually have one of my overflow drains that typically is as close to a full siphon as possible, that comes through and drains, and then the water is coming this way, comes through. You want to go opposite flow, and then it's going to go down, meet up with the other lines, and go down to my sump. So this is kind of how it's set up. You have the heat exchanger, and you just have the hot water heater that comes on. So basically this pump and this electronic ball valve will open up and the pump will turn on at the same time, when the apex will sense that the temperature is dropped below 77 degrees, and then it comes back on. And don't mind the noise, because that's actually just the fans for the hot water heater, so they do kick on from time to time to reheat the water back up. But if you can hear the ball valve opening up, which it's doing right now, and the hot water will be coming through and then running through this titanium heat exchanger. So needless to say, $500 a month electric bill. I'm expecting it hopefully to go down below $300 for sure. I'm hoping, I mean, it's estimated 40 to 45% savings on your utility bills, and with what I've been paying for electric heaters, I think this is going to be a pretty huge savings for me. So can't wait to update it, and can't wait to see my next electric bill coming. I've just had this set up now. I will say my biggest struggle with this is the 2 endpoints of the titanium heat exchanger. This one, not so much. It's not under pressure, it's just a drain line, but because this is your basically household pressure going through, these 2 endpoints are really hard to get to where they're not going to be dripping. So they're not dripping. I've actually been kind of tweaking this for the last week or so to get this system not to drip. Using Teflon tape and your pipe dope, I guess you would call it, your plumber's paste or whatever, to kind of help keep it from leaking or being watertight. So now that that is the way it is, we should be good to go. So now I've actually insulated the pipes as well. Even though I have a very short run, even if it helps just a little bit, I kind of had these sitting around anyways, and even if it helps keep the water, degree or 2, it's 1 less time a day maybe, or a few less times a day that the hot water heater has to come back on. So that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or send me an email, which is bluecarbonreefing@gmail.com. And again, I will leave the link to the article on reef2reef.com. So feel free to ask any questions you have, and thanks for stopping by. Happy reefing.